Everyone says they want success. Everyone say they want freedom. But when it's time to pay the price, 99% of people fold. I'm 18. I don't have money. I don't have connections. And I definitely don't have privilege. But I made a choice. Sacrifice comfort now to build the life I actually want. And in this video, I'm going to break down exactly what I had to give up, the personal stories behind those sacrifices, and how you can apply the same principle to your own life, whether you're 16, 26, or 36. Because the truth is, you can't build a dream life without sacrifice. Part 1. The reality of being an underdog. When you're an underdog, you don't get shortcuts. Nobody's funding your dream. Nobody is holding your hand. And most people don't even believe in you. Unlike those other rich people that got their parents, that got funding from their parents, people there to help them, everything like that. At first, that feels like a disadvantage, but being an underdog forces you to rely on ownership. It forces you to stop waiting and start building. When I started this journey, I was still in school. I still am, by the way. I have exams, assignments, family expectations, all the usual excuses, right? But here's the truth. Excuses don't move you forward. Excuses don't build freedom. Excuses don't get you anywhere. So I made a decision. I would outwork and outdiscipline everyone around me. Not because it was easy, but because it was the only way forward. Part 2. What I sacrificed. This is the part nobody glamorizes. Success looks shiny on the outside, but the entry fee is sacrifice. Here's what I gave up at 18. 1. Sleep-ins. While my friends were waking up at 5 or 6, I was up at 4. Some mornings, I'd be half asleep studying before school so that I have the time to edit and go to gym after school. And when I got to class, people would ask why I looked tired. I didn't tell them it's because I'd already been working for 2.5 hours before school. 2. Social life. I remember being invited to parties and I'd say no, not because I didn't want to be there, but because I knew the next morning I needed to film, or I needed to train, or I needed to study. I cut 80% of my hangouts, not because my friends were bad people, but because my vision was bigger than a night out. 3. Entertainment. While people were binge watching Netflix, I was editing videos in the back of an Uber. Literally, I'd have my laptop or my phone open, cutting clips while we were stuck in traffic. Every wasted hour was a stolen hour from my goals. I'd be editing on my phone while I'm in class. For those of you that know, because I'm not sure, the education system might be different outside of South Africa, but for those of you in South Africa, you know, when you reach the end of a term, like towards the end of term 1, term 2, term 3, term 4, those last 1 or 2 weeks, there's barely anyone at school, so you're barely doing work, right? Now, unfortunately, at the time, I was still forced to go to school, except maybe like the last 2 days, but I was still forced to go to school. So, I'd literally be sat in the class, just editing. I'd even be scripting in class. I did everything. Even for my business, I'd be in class with my laptop open sending cold emails. Why? Because I had the time. 4. Approval. I had to let go of being liked. Some people called me obsessed. In fact, my dad called me obsessed. Boring or too serious. Even family sometimes didn't get it. But obsession is what separates winners from quitters. Even Ronaldo said it. He was obsessed. In order to succeed in anything, you have to be obsessed with it. 5. Short-term money. While others were chasing quick weekend jobs for pocket cash, I was building skills. Copywriting, content, learning how to grow this personal brand. I even started my own business. The money didn't show up right away, but I knew it was an investment that would pay me for life. These sacrifices hurt, but every sacrifice was a seed. And I knew that if I planted enough seeds, eventually I'd grow a life that nobody could take away from me. Part 3. Lessons from sacrifice. So what did I learn? 3 big lessons. 1. Sacrifice reveals your priorities. If you say you want success, but you can't give up Netflix or parties, you don't actually want it. Your actions expose your real values, because where you spend your time shows what you value in life. In fact, there was a book I read called The Values Factor by if I'm not mistaken, by Dr. John D. Martini. And the book literally speaks about how to know what you value in life. And in the book, he had one of these exercises where he asked you a bunch of questions. And eventually, you'd have to look at what are your most common answers, where are you most commonly spending your time, so that it shows what you value in life. I think my top five were, the first one was gym, the second one was my content, my personal brand, my third one was business, my fourth one was woman, because I'm a guy, guys, and the fifth one, I can't remember actually. I can't remember. This was last year sometime. But yeah. Great book, by the way, guys. If you haven't already read it, check it out. The Values Factor by Dr. John D. Martini. I'll put up a picture of it here. Lesson 2. Sacrifice compounds. The small sacrifices, waking up earlier, skipping distractions, they stack up over time. I saw it myself. While everyone else was relaxing, I was stacking videos, building discipline, and over time, those reps put me ahead. And guys, this is not a joke, because when I was at my peak for 2025, now this was in the middle of March until May. That was my prime of 2025. That's when I was the most locked in. And what I noticed happening is, the harder I worked and the harder I pushed, the more results I got and the better results I got. So it literally goes to say how equal and opposite forces work, right? Because what you put in is what you get out. Lesson 3. Sacrifice gives you ownership. The moment I said, this is on me, my results are on me, my life is on me, I stopped waiting. And once I took full ownership, I became unstoppable, because now there was no one left to blame. And that's where true power comes from. Unlike all those Jeffreys who blame, no, this happened, nah, they said I couldn't do this, that. Guys, everything is your fault. When you blame other things, you give power to them. You take away power from yourself. But when you take ownership for what goes wrong in your life, whether you caused it or not, if you take ownership and say, listen, this is my fault, I should have seen it, I should have prevented it, now it's up to me to fix it, everything changes. Now, part 4. How to apply this. Now let's make this practical. How can you apply sacrifice and ownership in your own life? Here's a 3-step framework I use. 1. Audit your time. Track your day in 30-minute blocks for 1 week, guys. 1 week. I did this once and I realized how I was wasting, not hours, but I was wasting time scrolling and pretended I was busy before I started doing this. The moment I cut that, everything changed. I promise you guys, if you start tracking your days in 30-minute intervals, you will realize how much time you actually waste. When I first started doing this, I started watching my time, and there's the guy that told me to do this. He said that laziness hides in the untracked hours. And when I first started doing this, there were blocks of 20 to 30 minutes where I wouldn't track it. And when I thought to myself what I did in that time, I was messing around, I was fooling around, I was chasing distractions. So it is very important that you track your time, because tracking your time allows you to see how you spend your time. That way, you can tell whether you're actually being productive or just a lazy piece of shit, right? The second thing, choose your sacrifice. Don't try and give up everything at once. I started cutting 1 to 2 hours of distractions daily, and I used these hours for content and skill building. Pick one thing, wake up earlier, cut 1 distraction, remove 1 toxic person. Now, the third step, tie it to your vision. Sacrifice without vision feels like punishment. Sacrifice with vision feels like progress. When I skipped the party, I reminded myself, this is what buys me freedom later. This is what builds the life nobody else believes I can have. That mindset makes the sacrifice worth it. Part 5. The underdog advantage. Here's the part that fires me up. Being an underdog is the greatest advantage. When you start with nothing, you learn sacrifice early. You build hunger, you build resilience, you learn to create results without relying on anyone else. That's why the people who start at the bottom often rise the highest, because they don't expect handouts, they don't wait for luck, and they don't waste time. Let me give you an example. Andrew Tate. He started at the bottom, right? Look at where he is today. Why? Because he knew that no one's coming to save him. But everyone else who has a better life than he did when he was younger, they get comfortable. And when you get comfortable, your dreams start to fade away, because you start to give in more and more to the comfort, and you start to work less and less, and you start to get less and less productive, and your goal slowly but surely slips through your fingers. If you're watching this thinking, I don't have resources or I don't have support, good. That means you've got the perfect reason to take ownership and build it yourself. I'm 18. I've already sacrificed a lot, and I know I'll have to sacrifice even more. But here's the difference. I'm not scared of it. I welcome it, because every sacrifice brings me closer to the life I'm building. By the way, guys, if you haven't already, make sure to check out my TikTok and my Instagram. I'll put the handle up here. Because every sacrifice brings me closer to the life I'm building. So my challenge to you is simple. What are you willing to give up to get the life you say you want? Because if you're not sacrificing anything, you're not building anything. This was episode 2 of phase 2, sacrifice and ownership. Subscribe, lock in, and let's build this together. Because the underdogs, we're not waiting for permission. We're creating our own. Don't let the Jeffreys in life hold you back. Do not let the degenerates stop you from becoming your best possible self. As always, guys, I'm watching you and rooting from afar. Do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it.